I'm organizing for action.
I'm organizing for action.
I'm organizing for action.
This is a grassroots movement.
Literally millions of people.
But the truth is, this isn't for everyone.
We're the people who don't just support progressive change.
We're willing to actually stand up and fight for it.
Change from being paid less because you're a woman.
Change from being denied access to affordable health insurance
because you have cancer.
Or acne.
Change from living in poverty,
even though you work a full-time job.
Change from a climate that's changing.
The point is, these are big fights.
This is about making real, lasting change.
Stuff that is not going to happen on its own.
Not without organizers.
We're the ones who refuse to be cynical
about what we can get done.
Trust me, we know what we're up against.
But nothing's more powerful than millions of voices
calling for change.
We've seen it.
We've seen it.
Yes, it's true. We are community organizers.
And we're actually really proud of it.
This movement is the single greatest threat
to the way that the powerful interests in Washington do business.
But it depends on you. It all comes down to a choice.
It's about what's in your gut.
What are you willing to fight for?
Because the big fights require
all of us.
All of us.
All of us.
Together, we can keep changing this country
for the better.
And I couldn't be prouder to have you
by my side.
By my side.
By my side.
Chicago 91.5 FM. And we're joined by Barack Obama, who is Illinois State Senator from the 13th District and a senior lecturer in the law school at the University of Chicago.
Where it succeeded was to vest formal rights in previously dispossessed peoples, so that I would now have the right to vote. I would now be able to sit at a lunch counter and order, and as long as I could pay for it, I'd be okay. But the Supreme Court never ventured into the issues of redistribution of wealth and sort of more basic issues of political and economic justice in the society. And to that extent, as radical as I think people tried to characterize the Warren Court, it wasn't that radical. It didn't break free from the essential constraints that were placed by the Founding Fathers in the Constitution, at least as it's been interpreted, and Warren Court interpreted it in the same way, that generally the Constitution is a charter of negative liberties, says what the states can't do to you, says what the federal government can't do to you, but it doesn't say what the federal government or the state government must do on your behalf. And that hasn't shifted, and one of the, I think, the tragedies of the civil rights movement was because the civil rights movement became so court-focused, I think that there was a tendency to lose track of the political and community organizing and activities on the ground that are able to put together the actual coalitions of power through which you bring about redistributive change. And in some ways, we still suffer from that.
Let's talk with Karen. Good morning, Karen. You're on Chicago Public Radio.
Change comes about because people are activated, people are involved. People let their members of Congress know what it is that they believe, and when those voices are heard, you can't stop it. That's when change happens.
Organizing for Action is always about our volunteers. It's about a collection of people in their community who are getting together to make change happen. What we've seen in them in the last 4 months is just their determination to keep this fight going.
It's very, very important that we stay involved.
There are too many important issues for us to walk away now.
Issues that need to happen for us to move forward.
And so that's why I'm still involved, because I wanted to work on those issues and move the country forward.
What we want is to make sure that the voices of the people who put me here continue to be heard.
One thing members of Congress are finding out is that our volunteers are everywhere. They are lifting up their voices. They are not going to back down.
We need to show them that when they don't listen to us, we will stand outside their office. We will put the pressure on them.
The structure of OFA is powerful. I mean, it's the power of the people that have shown that we can organize and get things done.
We've already seen such incredible energy from our grassroots volunteers, country.
There's so many ways you can be involved. It's for everyone.
This really is a family that you can be not just one voice out there, but part of thousands of voices demanding action. Come join us, sign up at barackobama.com, get active online, get active in your community. of all the opportunities we have to make change happen, to move Congress, to put this agenda in place, OFA is where it's going to happen.
After I left office, what I realized is that the Obama Foundation could potentially create a platform for young, up-and-coming leaders, both in the United States, but all around the world, to come together, meet together, create a digital platform where they could exchange information on an ongoing basis about projects that they were working on. And that if I could do that effectively, then I would create 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000 young Barack Obamas or Michelle Obamas, or the next group of people who could take that baton in that relay race that is human progress, and continue to build on the work that we have done. So that's really going to be my focus. I have.
The challenges we face as a party and a country are real. So now more than ever, we need to stay engaged, in the field and online, reaching out to new voters, young people, and everyone who wants a better, stronger, fairer America. We as Democrats must move forward with courage, confidence, and optimism. Let resistance plus persistence equal progress for our party and our country. Thank you to the leaders who've already done so much, beginning with Barack and Michelle Obama. So keep fighting and keep the faith. And I'll be right there with you every step of the way.
Zach Paulette liked to call. Zach Paulette was the executive director of ACORN and Project Vote simultaneously. In 2008, he said we had a once-in-a-generation opportunity, and it wasn't to elect a black president, it was to pass socialism, to fundamentally change the way we were doing things, and Barack Obama was just a conduit to do it. So when I got a call 2 weeks later from the Obama campaign to the Washington D.C. office, I was actually very excited. This Obama campaign is calling ACORN. So I get out there and I type a little email and I send it out to all my supervisors. And when I got back from that email, which I was told I probably shouldn't have sent, was a USB drive about this big. And on that USB drive was the second quarter Obama donor list from 2007. So I contacted Stephanie Strom of the New York Times as a confidential source, and I began to give her documents and records and emails and everything she would need to show that not only was ACORN committing massive voter registration fraud, but they also had done things that would constitute prosecution under the RICO statutes.
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
Why so heavy-handed trying to tie Hillary Clinton to Lucifer?
Well, first of all, recognize that this is a very famous book, Rules for Radicals. And on the dedication page, you acknowledge Lucifer in an admirable way,
right,
saying that he's the original radical who gained his own kingdom.
Right.
And then if you read the book, I don't know if you've ever read it.
Right. What I did was I read the studies of the book, just to figure out where you were going with this. But please continue.
But please read the book, because it's very interesting how it uses controlled anarchy in order to change us from a democratic republic to a socialist society.
Right.
And I don't think that those things are consistent with the principles and the basis of this nation.
All right, so we're sitting down today, One America News, with Brandon Strzok. Brandon, thank you so much for coming in. Give me an update on #walkaway. How's it going? How's the movement?
So the Kavanaugh hearings, as you know, have sort of been like dominating the news cycle. But one really amazing side effect of that has been that it's caused a lot of people to walk away. It's we're finding that this has been a breaking point, I think, for a lot of people. My group got like a second wind almost because of the Kavanaugh hearings. It really, really upset a lot of Americans, and there were even people who came into our group telling their testimonials. One woman's in her 70s, and she said, "I've been a Democrat my whole life. I even volunteered for the DNC since I was 13 years old." And she was like, "This is my final straw. I'm walking away because of the Kavanaugh." Yeah, it's happening a lot. Thousands of people came in just in the last couple of weeks.
Now, do these people, do they tend to be more moderate? Are they more centrist, independent-minded, or is it people that you're seeing that are totally switching sides?
Well, I mean, everyone's moderate now compared to the modern left. The people who are walking away, I don't think that there's a lot of fringe people walking away yet. That does happen sometimes. We do get some people who say, "I was a social justice warrior," you know, and they just, I think they saw reflections of themselves in the people around them. They're like, you know, this is not really the kind of person I want to be. This is not what I want for myself. But I'd say the majority of people are people who are just sort of common sense Americans who no longer recognize the party or no longer recognize what it means to be a liberal, and they feel pushed as.
And with we saw the left just completely overplaying their hand, going to such extremes to smear this guy, going to such extremes to obstruct, you know, Trump's nominee, pretty much just because he was Trump's nominee. Right. And are you seeing that reflected across the country?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but we see this all the time, I feel like. It's like anything that somehow trickles down from Trump, whether it's a decision that Trump makes or if it's somebody that Trump endorses, people don't even bother to do their research or find out anything about this person or this issue or this topic, whatever. They just hate it.
As the Polish experience reminds us, the defense of the West ultimately rests not only on means, but also on the will of its people to prevail and be successful and get what you have to have. The fundamental question of our time is whether the West has the will to survive. Do we have the confidence in our values to defend them at any cost? Do we have enough respect for our citizens to protect our borders? Do we have the desire and the courage to preserve our civilization in the face of those who would subvert and destroy it? We can have the largest economies and the most lethal weapons anywhere on earth. But if we do not have strong families and strong values, then we will be weak and we will not survive. If anyone forgets the critical importance of these things, let them come to one country that never has. Let them come to Poland. Those heroes remind us that the West was saved with the blood of patriots, that each generation must rise up and play their part in its defense. And that every foot of ground and every last inch of civilization is worth defending with your life. Our own fight for the West does not begin on the battlefield. It begins with our minds, our wills, and our souls. Today, the ties that unite our civilization are no less vital and demand no less defense than that bare shred of land on which the hope of Poland once totally rested. Our freedom, our civilization, and our survival depend on these bonds of history, culture, and memory. And today as ever, Poland is in our heart, and its people are in that fight. Just as Poland could not be broken, I declare today for the world to hear that the West will never, ever be broken. Our values will prevail, our people will thrive, and our civilization will triumph. So together, let us all fight like the Poles, for family, for freedom, for country, and for God.